All right, it's 4 minutes after 2 o'clock. Time for our airport committee meeting. I pronounce the meeting open. Listen to our town manager discuss the agenda.
The first item we've got listed as airport lease agreement really is airport option agreement. And this is a renewal of a document that has expired in the month of May. This is our first opportunity to discuss it. It is an option that Mr. Allman with UAV Pro had executed with the town about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, in order for him to have an option on 5 to 8 acres located at the industrial park or the industrial property the town owns at the airfield adjacent to the property he's already purchased. Mr. Allman brought it to my attention that the option has expired and would like to renew that option. He does have some changes, obviously, minute changes, but they are financial or fiscal changes. And if he's here to obviously answer any questions, and I've got in your packet the main change, which is a per acre figure. It was, I believe, it's $7,500 per acre. The request that Mr. Allman has before you would be at $5,000 an acre. He's here to present his case, and I will tell you that some of my discussions with Mr. Allman were based on the per acre prices that the county's been selling property out there for that Nottoway Commons, and I think that's the basis for some of this discussion. Okay? If you have questions.
Do I have to stand up there?
I think you're supposed to.
Let's make a few comments about the pricing. The original piece of property we bought at the airport was on the taxiway, and it had direct access to the airfield, and this piece of property does not. It's behind the property we've already purchased, but it is not road frontage. And the property the county just sold was at $4,200 an acre, I believe. I don't think that's a fair price because they bought a large parcel, but they did have road frontage. And so I went 20% over what they sold the larger parcel for, and I just consider that a fair and reasonable offer for the property. It has no road frontage. It has no access to the airport property. It's kind of in the middle of the block of the town's industrial park. And it's 20% higher than the last piece of property that just sold, which was the county piece of property out there. And that's how I kind of came up with the pricing on that.
But regardless, you'd like to renew the option,
Yes.
despite the whatever's finalized with the price.
Yeah.
And is it? I guess my question: this was a 6-month option with an extension for 6 months, and that brought us to the year.
Mhm.
You want to do the same term?
Yeah, that's
6 months
fine.
and 6 months.
That's
and
fine.
Do it that way.
Mhm.
Okay. So, pretty much everything else is agreeable.
Yes, sir.
Changing the dates and all that,
Yes, sir.
obviously, and then the price is the one question.
My question is the land worth less now than it was a year ago? And you say, well, it has no frontage.
Yes,
Taxiway frontage.
Yes, sir.
It would have if you hadn't built in front of it.
Yes.
All right, so therefore, I maintain really that, please don't misconstrue what I say. I'm so much in favor of what you're doing out there,
Sure.
and will back you every way. However, I also represent the town and the taxpayers and this, that, and the other. And I feel if the property was worth an option of $7,000 an acre a year ago, it's not worth less today.
The basis on the original option was just based on what I paid for the original piece of property. And the reason that, and I think I paid a premium then because there was essentially no reliable sewer on the property, and there was no fiber on the property, and there was no three-phase on the property. UAV Pro paid for half of the sewer project out there, which was about $25,000, which is about half the purchase price of this next piece of property. We paid to have the fiber brought in at no cost to the town, and we paid for all the underground, we negotiated for all the underground three-phase power out there at no cost to the town, and I think that's a little goodwill. When I did the original option, I didn't have a comp. We were in a hurry at that time and didn't have time to have it appraised, and there were no comps. Now we have a comp. We have a piece of property that's within a stone's throw that has road frontage that just sold for $4,200 an acre. I don't think it's fair for me to offer $4,200 an acre because I'm buying up to 8 acres and I'm not buying 70. So I realize when you buy volume, it gets, yeah, the price will go down. So that's, I told Philip, I think 20% over what the comparable property that just sold would be a fair price. Is the property worth $7,500 an acre now? It might be with the sewer and the fiber and the three-phase power on it. But in all fairness, I'm being penalized for something I paid for. I've improved your piece of property, increasing the value, and so, do I want to get hung up on this? No, sir, I don't. I'm hoping we can maybe.
Nor do we.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
It's not a matter of personalities at all.
No, and I appreciate you. I'm a taxpayer. I appreciate it. We've got about 60 people working out there now, and we're paying a lot of meals tax, and we're doing good things. That doesn't mean that we should buy a piece of property for less than its value, and we're not in here to try to leverage that.
But if we sell it to you, I mean, if we give you this option, mind you, we're precluding someone else come out and want this property for another business who would find access to the airport an advantage to them. And they're not making any more runway land available. This is it.
But they won't have airport frontage.
Well, because you built in front of it.
Amen.
But had
What
we-
it is, what it is. I mean,
But had we insisted that you build the other way kind of a thing,
that's
that
true.
wouldn't have been true. And I'm
That's
not
true.
trying to get
That's
into,
true.
and we don't want to tell you, at least I don't want to tell you what you need to do in your business, because I think you've done a marvelous job and you've done good things for the town, and you are an asset. Don't.
No, I'm not. You're not hurting my
On the
feelings.
on the other hand, I don't think that the value or the assumed value of the land is any different today than it was then.
And I'll make one more point and then I'll rest. The $7,500 an acre price, the original price, I was under extreme pressure. I was being evicted by the Fast C project, and I was in threat of losing the entire project to another state. So I paid what I had to pay. There was no room for me to negotiate this. I got to have it. I'm not in that position now. I've got a piece of county property next door, and I've got this property. I want this property. It's right behind my current structure, and this is the property I want. This is the property I put new sewer on, or partnered to put new sewer on. This is the property I put three-phase power on. This is the property I paid to put fiber on. I want to put all that on there. But I'm not sure $7,500 an acre is a fair price. I just want a fair and reasonable price. If it were a fair and reasonable price, I think the county wouldn't have sold the other piece of property for $4,200 an acre. But I'm not a real estate guy. If somebody can explain to me why that's a fair and reasonable price, so I can go back to my two other people that sit on my board and say, hey, this is a fair price and this is why I misunderstood. I think that's a great, but I don't want to base it on what I paid for the original piece of property, because I was quite frankly under duress of losing my entire business.
The $7,500 price was based on the county price that they were seeking for their adjacent properties. And that came directly from John Process and Ronnie Worth. It was not an appraised value unless they had conducted an appraisal.
And it was from the proposed propane that we're going to put on the highway.
I think that's where it started.
And that may be it. So if your position is there's no counteroffer, 7,500 is the price, I'll take that back. And I'll see if we're agreeable to that.
Well, I don't, listen, I'm one of 3 here, and I'm one of 7 once a month. And we listen to a whole lot to what our town manager says, we make sense, sometimes we don't.
Me too. I'm here to have a conversation and come up with an agreeable price for
I'd like to
everyone.
hear
That's
from
how I
Mr.
do
Scott.
business.
I was gonna ask the town manager, what do you feel?
I think 75 is a premium price. I do. I understand, you know, I wasn't under duress like he was when he was trying to move it, and you didn't fight very hard, and then it was, okay, this is what we're doing. I can tell you the Fast C project, it's less than $4,000 a night. They bought that for less than $4,000 a night. And I can tell you the folks at Fast C were none too happy to pay what they did. They paid $4 or $5 million, whatever it was, I don't wanna quote the wrong figure. 4,000 plus over at the bowling alley. As far as the commercial retail property, that's about the premier one to service this Fast C for a hotel. This is good because you got Virginia Tech across the road. You've got some other properties there between the railroad tracks and the main gate road. If 5,000 is not acceptable to this board, I think that you can find some common ground. But I think certainly 75 is your top. Obviously 42 is your bottom, and I think there's somewhere in between. But if it's the $7,500 was not determined by a hard and fast appraisal by the town. I can tell you that. That was a phone call to Ronnie Rourke when we were gonna sell to the propane company, you're right about that, and asked Ronnie, how much y'all got this stuff listed for? $7,500 is what we got. And
It would certainly be more palatable to me if if the road frontage was available to me. Because that's the valuable piece of property that's left out there, is the road frontage.
You can find something in the middle, maybe it's, so both parties can be satisfied. If it's 42 to 75, what's that, $3,300 split it down the middle? And then both parties feel like you've protected the citizens and you've gotten more of an accurate,
There are two things I don't want to happen. I don't want to negotiate a price and leave and then have regrets on either side. And I don't want to negotiate for a price and leave that the greater council is not going to be palatable to. These projects that I'm looking at for that piece of property are on the bottom end 1.5 million and on the top $2 million worth of capital improvements. So it is the purchase price of the property a huge percentage of the project. It's certainly not, but that doesn't mean I don't need to be a good steward of my own money, because those pennies and dollars add up.
The good steward works both ways.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you, sir.
I just, I think we would have been as reasonable on the first bit of property as we are on this. We banded that price around a bit, and there were some who thought that was a little on the downside. We'll see, we have a lot of people that have wishing well thoughts, you know.
Well, the other consideration, I said I was going to stop talking, but I didn't. The other consideration is when and the mayor pointed this out rightly so, his concern over this being speculative. We have history now. We have a basis that's not how we run our business, and that we did create the jobs and we did do what we were saying. I feel like there should be some goodwill there, because the town is certainly benefiting on a daily basis from the number of people working out there. So this isn't as speculative as the first project, because we have a proven track record, if that'll buy me any goodwill. But at the end of the day, I'll accept whatever you say, and if you want to present it to council, then I'll see if we're willing to sign it.
You and I talked with Jeff Wellman, the guy from Telbert. Does that hold any interest to you, to buy the footprint of buildings and lease the other parts? Does that,
I have no idea what the combination to that lock is.
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know, sir. We seem to get one piece of information that says it's good this way, and then when we try to execute that, quite frankly, with the Department of Aviation, no, we can't do that. And then we go, you got to do it this way, and we try to do it that way. when the gavel drops, so to speak, and I have to proceed on this contract, I'll have a certain number of months to complete it, or I'll lose the agreement with the customer, and I'll be left hung with the project. So working with a third party other than the town, and that's why I want to do business with the town, is because we move relatively quickly, and I find the entire council to be reasonable. When we start pulling in other government agencies, I start getting nervous, because it only takes one to hold you up for 90 days, and
We talked about that today, about the road, that we'll be talking about in a few minutes, and do we want to go to the Department of Aviation, see if they'll assist in the cost, and they meet quarterly, and the next one will probably be in September, and then you're out of the paving season and all those kind of things.
yeah, my customers, when they want something, they take forever to make a decision because they're cautious, and when they make a decision, they want it right now. The last project I had 6 months to complete.
Well, we all do, that's,
It's human nature, yes, sir. Yes, sir, I agree. So, I don't, again, maybe you all can discuss it, whatever you want to do. I don't want to get anything for nothing. Although some localities and governments and towns will, I'm not asking for this, but I'm just saying, when they know it's a good economic development project, they give property away. I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying that I just want a fair and reasonable price. And if, in your mind, sir, if 7,500 is a fair and reasonable price, I can respect that.
well, I can,
At the end of the day, if you don't believe in the price, we're not going
well, let me ask
to,
you.
you're not going to convey that to council, and it's not going to pass anyway.
When do you need an answer?
I would like to have it resolved at the next council meeting. I'm getting ready to, I'm already working at risk. I'm getting ready to expend tens of thousands of dollars on engineering, at risk. And the last thing I want to do is do all that engineering. I have to pick a piece of property to start doing the engineering on, to stripe the field for the project. So I need to understand that I have access to the property. I can't spend a considerable amount of money with B&B Consulting or any other engineering firm, and then find out, oh, no, unbeknownst to me, the town has an agreement with someone else or another option to buy, and that property's, because the site work is,
I have one question. The amount of property that you took the original option on is a bit vague.
it was 5 to 8 acres.
Yeah. Why the variance, and how much of land do you actually need? And is there a difference in the price of the acre? You see, what we don't sell you, we're gonna end up selling to somebody else somewhere along the line, we think.
I would hope so,
Now,
yeah.
we like any other merchant, it's merchandise on the shelf, it's part of the inventory. And once it's gone, it's gone. And I know that makes me a little hard-backed and seem selfish about the thing, but I know who hired me, and that's where my thoughts are. Now, I know who we went to the dance with, and that's you, and I hope we stay together, because I've enjoyed the ride, you know.
Sure.
As you say, it's not a personal thing, I just have interest of the town, and I can't see a difference in the value of the property now than it was then. And the fact that the county land went for less, that was their discretion to do what they had to do.
The only big
They
difference.
didn't have any access to to the airport either.
The only big difference on my side is last time I had a business here I was trying to save, and I had a sense of urgency. This time I'm in competition for business. I'm competing with other states for this piece of business, so I'm sharpening my pencil. I'm trying to be as competitive as I can to get those jobs and that capital investment here. And so I would ask you to do the same. And if your pencil's sharp and that's your number, I can respect that. I really do.
Well,
I have nothing but respect for you guys, so it's just a conversation.
It's hard to do business among friends.
We're going to leave here friends, whether you
Well,
tell me
that's
it's
what-
$20,000 an
well,
acre. I won't buy it, but we'll be friends.
It's hard to do your due diligence
Yes.
sometimes.
Mhm.
When you're dealing with people who you've been friendly with and who you really appreciate their efforts.
Sure. Sure.
Uh,
And I don't necessarily think the town's in the business of selling real estate. I think the town's in the business of collecting taxes.
I'll add one last thing to the whole conversation. The end game, what's the town's end game? Is it to make $20,000 more dollars on a purchase of property? I think you have a fiduciary responsibility as citizens that you're doing right, that you're collecting and selling the property for everything. If you remember, everybody raised Cain with the building over there with Bobby Daniel, sold to him for $5, $10 or whatever, but we didn't have to tear it down. What's the end game of the town? Is it economic development, or is it make $20,000 more dollars?
Well, we didn't have to accept the property at all from the government.
Years ago.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, we took it because it was gonna be potentially an investment or, it was gonna be what it's becoming. And that's a fellow in Joe's camp.
Well, and I'll go back to and I'm tooting my own horn here, but that's what I'm here for. I purchased that property for $7,500 an acre under the understanding it had water and sewer on it. And technically it had sewer on it, but it really didn't. It had an old clay sewer pipe that ran underneath the old aircraft hangar out there that everybody that looked at it said, please don't let 60 people flush toilets down this line. It's going to be nothing but trouble. We don't have an easement to repair it. It's not a viable option. So that original piece of property cost me an extra $20,000 because we partnered with the town to pay for half the 8-inch sewer line. And now that sewer line's there for the next person to buy the piece of property and for the entire thing. And I didn't have the understanding that the fiber was there. And I went into it with that, and I didn't have the understanding on the three-phase, all that's there now. But a little consideration for the sewer deal would be appreciated. But I'm going to leave you with that. I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to state my case, and I hope I've done that in a friendly, professional way, because that's how I want to behave. So if you guys, I don't know, we discuss it, if I'm done and I leave and y'all discuss it, or I don't know how this works.
I'm gonna need to talk to the committee members. If one of them's not here, I'm gonna need to talk and get an opinion from them anyway, and I will talk with our town manager some more.
We'll put it on the final, or put it on the agenda for June 19th if you'd like to.
And I think by then we can make a recommendation. I'm not exactly sure what that recommendation is gonna be as I sit here right now.
I understand. And I think it's important, and I trust and I lean on your expertise, and that as a group you come up with a number that's fair and reasonable and palatable to the greater council, because it doesn't really matter if we decide on a number here. If it's not palatable to the greater council, it's not going to happen. So, you know, I would lean on your expertise for that, and that's why I wanted to come here and have a conversation about this and see what we could do to move forward.
All right.
Good news is, if you zoom out, the big picture is things are happening. Business is growing. I feel like we're in a very competitive stance for this project. I haven't got the final okay, but we're right at the edge of a nice project happening here. Another nice project in Blackstone, and which will be great for everyone involved. So this is just a little minutia.
ALP, Airport Layout Plan, is on the discussion.
Thank you.
Piece. And I think we have a final document submitted and all that. What were you talking about your road too?
Okay, I won't leave.
If you want, while Joe is discussing them, Mr. Chairman, we can talk about a couple other items that are necessarily specific to Joe. I think you may want to talk about the road
Yes,
and what's going on. Are you agreeable with that?
yes.
Bounce around a little bit?
Before we get into this, I would like to ask Lee, do you have any comments on what we've done? You've been awful quiet.
I'm listening.
Well, I know. Now, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I think we should go ahead and let him have the 5,000 because he has did some stuff to upgrade the stuff out of his pocket. To upgrade the sewer.
And that's on all the acreage?
If anybody else goes out there to build, they've got something to tie into now.
I'm sorry now.
They have something to tie into because of what they have done.
All right, question. If the rest of the property comes up for sale, what kind of value would you put on the property?
I'm not a realtor, and I'll never tell anybody I am. but he's did upgrades for the town out of his pocket for his business that we can tie into for anything else that goes out there.
The next question that I had is the one I just asked you. With the remaining property, because this is what he's taking the option on, it's not all of it.
I know.
What kind of value would you put on the remaining property? With someone who's coming in who hasn't done this preliminary work?
When in doubt, have it appraised.
Yeah.
Get an appraiser out there for $1,000 and tell you what the deal is.
I wouldn't have to apply it right now too.
You can do that. The problem I have with the appraisal, remember we sold Jason Walker that land out there
Mm-hmm.
in the industrial park that has no power? The appraiser appraised it the same as Love's Truck Stop down in South End. Because there are not that many
Either you,
industrial comps that in lies. He used Love's Truck Stop on Route 1 in South Hill as one of the comps.
I know that.
So industrial comps are tough to find. Industrial comps are difficult, they're getting more common. But I can tell you, we made a bunch of money in 2009 when the economy was horrible, and we're doing appraisal comps on 2006 comps. Now those comps have gotten caught up. And so that's when you saw Harp making phone calls to everybody because the price of the value of your home went down. But when I refinanced in 2009, they were using 2006 comps, and I did great. In 2012, when the economy started to recover, you were using those terrible comps from 9 and 10. Bleh. Boy, your house lost 25% value. So I think that you're going to find that your comps are still hard to go. 7,500 is going to be a comp, whether that was a distressed comp or a stressed transaction. I think your 42 and then the other stuff that you sold out there are going to weigh in there. So it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I think you're going to find. If Joe can plead his case at the 7,500 to an appraiser, and they have the other matters where they sold for 42, and then the 700 acres at 36, I think it's somewhere in the middle. I do. I think it's somewhere in the middle. 75 is your top, 3,600 is your bottom, and Jason Walker's transaction is going to weigh in on that. I think there's starting to be enough industrial comps in the area that they don't have to go to Love's Truck Stop at Route 1 in South Hill, which is an atrocious comparison. I think it's in the middle. I think your number is between 3,600, 4,200, and 7,500, because those are your comps. Those are the numbers you know. And is it 5,000? Maybe it's 5,200, maybe, but it's something different. I think the Route 40 frontage has some value, but I think the most value property is the stuff that he got on the airport. That is the most value, because as Joe has described, he'd like to ultimately be able to go right on the apron. In an airport or aviation setting, I think that's your most valuable property. All right? There's a lot of road frontage in Nottaway County. There's a lot of road frontage in Nottaway County. And I never believed that there was a lot of open land and a lot of rural land in this area until you start working in the business. There's a lot of it. It's around. There's a lot of road frontage. The utilities are more valuable than the road frontage because the utilities ain't everywhere. A water line and a sewer line, and don't think Nottaway Commons has picked that site because there wasn't water and sewer. They picked that site because there is water and sewer. Okay? Those are your more valuable. The entitlements with zoning is more valuable than the road frontage. There's very few industrial and commercial properties in this part of the world than there is road frontage. Road frontage is simple. We get that anywhere. But if you got a water and sewer line and zoning is an entitlement, that's your value. An example, we bought a piece of property, the company I work for less than $100,000 in Amelia Courthouse. Did not have full zoning for R3, multifamily. Got it rezoned for R3.
Could I interrupt
Property
you?
was sold for $1 million. Sure.
Could I ask you to do a brief,
Certainly.
catch up on what I said, what he said, what everybody said? You can bring up Robert on.
Thank you.
A year ago, UAV Pro and the town of Blackstone signed an option agreement. The UAV Pro could purchase between 5 and 8 acres. It's an option, not a right of first refusal. It was an option agreement to purchase between 5 and 8 acres at the airport adjacent to the property that Joe has already purchased from us for the same amount of money, $7,500 an acre, for that acreage. That agreement has expired. Joe didn't exercise the option. He didn't need to, but I think he's becoming, getting to the point where some decisions are going to be made, and he's going to have to proceed on with construction, or something's going to happen, but that agreement has expired. It expired last month, and Joe brought it to my attention, and he's asking to renew the option with the same terms, except he's offering $5,000 an acre instead of the $7,500, based on what Nottaway Commons just paid Nottaway County of $4,200 an acre. And so he's asking that his number not be as low, but be adjusted, because that is a comp. And he's got a comp right next door. Joe has made some compelling arguments of why $7,500 for that property shouldn't necessarily be the same price for this property, because there's some differences. He participated in the construction of utilities and installation of water, the installation of communications and sanitary sewer and all those kinds of things that he participated in the cost. And he would like some consideration, because the county just closed the deal at $4,200 an acre, and he believes that that price for that option could be adjusted, okay, down to $5,000. And that's kind of what we're talking about. Sam and Lee have both indicated that they have a responsibility to the citizens to get the right price. They have a responsibility to set that price and get the citizens as much as they deserve. I think there's been an opinion made by Mr. Scott saying that the $5,000 would be agreeable to him. And I think Mr. Moncure doesn't come as easy, but I think they want to maybe hear your opinion as well. And if you have questions, obviously Joe's here to help you.
Well, 5,000 sounds reasonable to me, based on what you said about how much other people have paid for theirs. And he's been a good tenant, or whatever you might want to call him. You know, I just think he deserves some consideration.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
I think he deserves a little consideration.
I think it deserves a lot of consideration. So do our taxpayers. I did bring up the fact that the option that we gave him was between 5 and 8 acres, was it?
Mm-hmm.
If he would exercise the option on 5 of them, what would we set the price on the other 3 to him or somebody else?
The residue of the property is what he's talking about, because there's approximately 17 acres out there still. Is that, I could go
I think
measure
there
it.
was 18 or 19 acres total, and we've taken 4.8 off, so.
So maybe there's 15 acres out there, and at the most. I was explaining that when we sold Jason Walker that property at the industrial park over here, we didn't even use the appraisal. We threw the appraisal out. I don't know if you remember, but he came up with an appraisal of a significant amount of money per acre based on some comp that the appraiser, the fellow you met, had come up with, and they were just not even comparable. Love's Truck Stop over in South Hill on Route 1, that's not an industrial property that doesn't have three-phase power, sitting adjacent to an interstate. And I think it was just poorly crafted. But we could have an appraisal done. I do think that there are more comps in the area based on what's been sold between Fast C and Nottaway Commons and what Joe's purchased. If Joe's 7,500 is on the top and Fast C and the other guys are on the bottom, it's somewhere in the middle, right? Logically, you sit back and say that's got to be your comp. And Joe's offering an increase of $800 above what Nottaway Commons is paying for the hotel site, or has paid. Apparently, they've closed.
I guess what I would suggest is that the committee meet and then come up with a counteroffer. You know, I can't negotiate with myself, so you guys
Well,
decide.
you're a tough negotiator both ways.
I'm gonna counter, 2,000 an acre. I'm just kidding. So, really, to where you guys have it's only fair that you guys have a chance to talk and really come up with what you think is fair and reasonable. And
Joe, I'm not opposed to having a meeting of the minds today. I mean, my resistance is not in any way personal or,
I don't feel that's.
I feel like I'm just doing my fiduciary duty to the town, and I'm sure they do, and I could be wrong, I was wrong once before.
Only once?
I was wrong 4 or 5 times today. So, it's important to me that we get a number that, a week from now or 6 months from now, when a constituent asks you about the number that you're comfortable with. This is a small town and it's not worth the stress and strain and hard feelings that,
What
would
would
talk
you,
me into that, or I wouldn't think, I just want it to be a fair and reasonable.
what
number,
would you
that's all.
feel about an option on, how many acres you say?
Right now, it's 5 to 8, and that's because the size of the project is contracting and expanding depending on whose desk it's on.
Suppose we gave you an option on 5 acres and one figure, and, agreed to have it, if you needed more than that, have it appraised at that time for a figure.
I guess I'd think about it.
Now,
That's what the number was, I guess.
appraisal could go low or it could go higher.
I'm not adverse to appraisal because I think it would be in my favor, but I'm worried about the time. We better get it done, get it in quickly enough. I didn't think an appraisal on the original purchase piece of property was a good idea because it was so unique. I thought it'd be very, very difficult to get an appraiser to understand.
Well, the difference between
Good
5
comps.
and 8 is considerable, percentage-wise. I don't really know what you have in mind for going out there.
And your position is that an 8 acre price would be cheaper than a 5 acre price? Per acre?
I'm not, no, I hadn't even considered that. I'm just saying, if you took the 8 acres and you needed 5 and you took the 8, then you would have an asset that you could buy and sell. It would take us out of the property business.
I see what you're saying. I hadn't considered that because my property's like, you buy a storage building and you think you buy the biggest one you need and you fill it up in about 2 weeks. That's what happens with us. We
I'm
just,
willing to listen to the rest of the committee and even accept a motion if somebody wants to make it. I'm not hard set in what I'm saying, I'm just
I
want to make
appreciate
sure
that.
that everybody thinks about everything before they jump in.
Well, do you think we should get an appraisal?
It can take you a month to get it, get it advertised or get prices for somebody to do it, and you're looking at a month to get it back.
And you kind of in a hurry?
yes, man, one of the parts you missed is I need to start doing engineering work.
Uh-huh.
I don't have a commitment. I haven't won the project yet, but I'm feeling really good, so we're willing to do some work, what I would call at risk. And the only unknown in the project that I need to go back to my bankers with is what the site work is gonna cost. So I have to identify a piece of property and have the engineering done on that piece of property. And so that's what the option affords me. That way I can spend some money on engineering, and if I don't win the project, I've lost that, but at least I haven't lost 50 or 60 grand that I paid for a piece of property that I didn't need. So if I was in the speculative business, I just buy the property. If I didn't use it for my project, I just turn around and sell it to somebody else. And that's not my proposal today. Anything could happen and my project could fall through at the last minute. My intention is this is not a speculative purchase. I have no intention of buying the property and then trying to remarket it. I'm not in the real estate business. I'm in the airplane business. So, if you would like to lock down the acreage on the property, if that would make you more palatable to you or feel like it would be better for the taxpayer, I would be open to that.
I would
have to
rather,
err on the
whatever
larger
we
side.
do be compatible with us, not me, because I don't,
So you paid 75 for the other, the first you bought,
Yes, ma'am. And my
and now it'd
position
be
on that was,
25.
Pardon?
Not, I'm just calculating in my head, which is not real good.
I think you got a low out there of 42, you got a high of 75, and if you were to split the difference, it'd be about 57.50.
And there's, it may not be palatable to you, it may not be as palatable to you, but it's something defendable, and I think it's something that, at a minimum, tells you that y'all negotiated something, and Joe may agree or may not agree, but that may be one simple country way to.
So you
come up with a
offering
figure.
5?
Yes, ma'am. And I offered 5, and I'll tell you how I came up with the number. I found out what they paid for the last property that was purchased, which, the advantage of that property, it's road frontage, and they paid 4,200 an acre, so I marked it up 20%. Because they bought a larger block of property, and when you buy more, it's cheaper.
Cheaper.
Then the other part you missed was I was asking for some consideration, because when I bought the original property for 7,500, I bought it with water and sewer.
This doesn't have any.
It doesn't really have sewer that I can use, so the town, we resolved that. I partnered with the town paid half the bill, and I paid about $25,000 to get the sewer that I needed. So, in essence, I didn't pay $7,500 an acre. You gotta take that 25,000 and divide it over 4 acres. Or if you do it over 5. So I paid, 12.5 an acre if you throw, but I had to pay to get the sewer right back in it. So I think that's worth a little consideration. When I did the sewer, was I thinking, oh, if I buy another piece of property, I can leverage this? No, I wasn't thinking that. But I want to be careful. I'm just trying to show that we've had a good partnership along, and I want to continue that. So if 5,700 is a more palatable, I can take that back. I like 5,000 better, but 5,700 doesn't sound crazy. It sounds like at the end of the day, I'm here because there's wisdom in the group, and I want all of us to put our heads together and have these discussions and comes up with what we think is fair. Because if we don't, and we present it to the council, it's not going to be palatable in any way.
Well, I would entertain a motion from someone else to do that, if that's what y'all think is the best. I said what I thought,
You say 57.
and it's diverse from what you think.
Anybody got their phone? Let's do a little math real quick.
I have one right.
We received this appraisal in 2014. Okay, and this is on the industrial property in,
I got it ready.
$160,000, about 27 acres.
what does that come to?
59.25.
And we didn't use that, we said that was too high. Alright. That was the appraised figure, and that was the one using Love's Truck Stop and all these other places. Warranty deed,
Go ahead, make the motion for 57.
and the actual purchase price?
I don't remember this, but it says $50,000 on the hub. Sold for $2,000 an acre.
That's what we sold in our industrial park. And I'm agreeable because Southside Electric's got that thing jammed up with the power. Nobody could ever build a manufacturing plant unless they consumed enough electricity to pay back that contribution. But you sold that in the industrial park for about $2,000 an acre. $50,000 for 27 acres. I take that back. He only purchased 13 acres, so it was about $4,000 an acre. My bad. My bad. He actually purchased less acreage than what was actually appraised. Remember, he only bought actually 13 acres.
So he was about $4,000 an acre.
Well, I make a motion that we sell that property for 5,700.
55?
Sell an option,
An option.
Option.
sell an option for $500, if that figure's agreeable. That's what the option price was.
All the other terms were
I
acceptable.
said 5,700.
No, the 500 is the price of the option itself,
Okay.
not the agreed per acre price. Excuse me, I'm not just trying to separate the two figures.
That,
Now, how should it be worded?
Just where it is in that line, where it is in the old contract, strike out one price and write it in the other. Is really all you got to do. Maybe change the date. In your folder here, you've got the old contract.
I think I can make that work, I really do. I can't speak for when we start making large purchases. I have 2 other people I consult with. Keeps me grounded, but I think that we can make that work. I would like to, unless there's some aversion to it, I don't want to throw a monkey wrench in the process, but because we have completely run out of parking. I don't know if you've been to the airport lately, I had 40 cars parked on the taxiway behind the back row of hangars, because we don't have any room for parking. We just spent $60,000 on parking to expand the option from 5 to 8 acres to 5 to 10. If my proposal, if I get the larger project, I'm gonna need some additional room for parking.
What would that leave? What would the residue?
Leave about 5 acres out there.
It'd leave you the road frontage, the prime piece of property on the highway. Again, I don't want to throw a monkey wrench, I'm just telling my side.
Can you leave that be for a little while?
Yeah.
I think we've reached a point of decision here, and
We
come
can let
back and
that
talk
lie.
about it.
If I decide to exercise the option, if things were blessed and go in my favor, I can always come back and say, I want to exercise the option plus an additional 2 acres. You know,
But I think both parties are aware that that's looming out there.
yeah, I don't want to ever, before you agree to this, I don't want you to feel like I'm wrangling you if I come back and want 2 more acres at the same price. You know, I want everybody to go, "Wow, I wish I'd have known that up front before I agreed to the 5,700. What it is, I just want to tell the whole story and nothing but the story. So, that's where we are.
Well, Joe, I don't think anybody on this committee feels like you're trying to pressure the committee.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm not.
No, and I agree. I think everything you've done has been highly beneficial to the town and the county. And I'll go along with this motion if that's what the rest of the committee would like to do. What I say is we extend this existing option for another year.
It's 6 months and then extended. It can be
with
extended
two-
another 6
With
months.
2 6 months extensions, or 1 6 months extension, at $5,700, and just change the date.
That was comparable to your motion, okay? Good?
Aye.
Good deal. You got everybody's eyes?
Motion made by Lee, seconded by Barbara, agreed one by Sam.
Remember, you're on camera now.
Hmm?
Aren't you on the camera?
Yes.
They heard that you made the motion.
I didn't make the motion.
You're on camera.
Oh, Lord, just joking, y'all.
All right, next item, very quickly, while you're still here, Joe, we're talking about Airport Industrial Park. The last time we met, the direction was to get some CBRs to see what kind of base is in the road, and there is adequate base in that road in which to pave over top of it. There's multiple inches. That's a tar and gravel shot, a triple shot of tar and gravel like we would with a normal street here in town, and it's 581 linear feet, and irregardless of whether it goes to the fence or not, we have a basic per foot cost of doing this. They have fairly low expectation that it'll survive as an industrial park road long-term. They believe the cost of it will be about $45,000 to shape the road and to hit it with a triple shot, okay?
I have some problems with it.
And I do too. I hate to spend that kind of money. What I've asked Sam to do is not make a decision today. We have a commitment that Monday all of our forces will be over at his place, getting the road shaped up and potholes patched and everything ready to go for an event that's going to be over there on Tuesday. So David Ostrander and Melvin and all the guys will be over there working on that. We've done some brush cutting, satisfied to that. And Joe and I have been talking, gosh, I'm 8 months now about trying to fix this road with VDOT and Department of Aviation. We're going to present to you in the next agenda item that the airport layout plan has been reviewed, corrections made, And now I believe we're ready to sit down with the Department of Aviation and get a formal answer on whether or not they will participate 80%, which is a standard maintenance cost and a match that the Department of Aviation will pay for projects at the airport. Before you make a commitment of $45,000, I'd like to get the Department of Aviation to look Joe and I and you and I and say, we're not going to participate. In the joint use agreement negotiations, they said that the industrial park in the town-owned property is specifically defined as part of the airfield. Okay? I don't know why that is now Vernon Carter or one of those guys that we talked to out there in the planning department, why they say now we wouldn't typically pay for something like that. We've done everything they've asked, with some resistance, but not a huge amount of resistance. And if the Department of Aviation says we won't accept, we've got enough to submit an application now. If the Department of Aviation says we will not accept that application, we won't pay for it, you guys have, as of today, $114,968 now in your fueling account. We reconciled for the past 6 months, and it may even be a little bit more than that. But I can tell you there's $114,000 in cash. Last time Joe and I and Captain Simmelchick discussed it, it was just over $50,000. But it is now, Jennifer's reconciled it since, I guess, the first of the year, and it's $114,000 in that account, cash. That is not counting the purchase of the real estate that Joe made last time. That is in a separate kitty altogether. So that's just fuel sales that we have been, instead of building ball fields, we've been doing this.
Not for really decision today, in reading this thing, and I read it all. This 2-inch asphalt cap,
It's a triple shot of tar and gravel.
yeah. They say it has a minimum life of 2 years, which is very cool.
That ain't gonna last no time.
Minimum life of 2 years. They don't say what the maximum is, but I say if the minimum life is 2 years, then the maximum life is under 10. Now, in asking Philip this other thing, what would be the price of going whole hog and doing it all?
You're doing it right.
Would be around $150,000.
Just asphalt.
That's asphalt and shoulders and
And
drainage improvements.
even widen it out.
Widening some and making drainage improvements.
And I would think that would be good for a minimum of 10 to 15 years. And if we're gonna spend that kind of money, that's the time I would go, not to go to the cheap side, but to go to the expensive side and get your money's worth and not have to come back and redo all it. Now, we don't have enough information at this point to bring that up for a decision because we're getting in a position to ask the state to help us, and we're waiting on a yes or no from them. But keep this in the back of your mind, that I saw this 2-year minimum, and it's in your packet. That made my skin crawl just a little.
I concur with Philip. I mean, my big push was for an event I have on Tuesday. My customers agreed that they're our partners as well, and they're not interested in the town spending $48,000 worth of fuel money until we've exhausted all the resources to make sure that we can get some help with it. So the pressure is somewhat off of me from my customer to get it done right now. And Philip's facilitated the guys coming out and putting a little lipstick on it and making it passable for a day or two, which we really appreciate that. The second unknown is if this project that I'm competing for now, if it dominoes, the road's going to have tractor-trailer traffic and a lot of bobtail truck traffic. The traffic on the road is going to go up, which it has some of that now, but to a minimum extent. So what's required of a road short-term, we should know within the next 90 days, because I hope to know what's going to happen with this project. So certainly, if we domino this next project, and if the community's blessed with this next project, a road with a 2-year minimum, 2-year life expectancy may not be a good idea just because of the increased traffic.
And don't forget, please, that we have the money on hand, cash in hand, to do this project now without having to raise revenues.
Yes.
Now, we may even have that amount of money in all of it to get to the 150,000.
I've seen
114 plus the,
I've seen some invoices come in because we've been fueling a lot recently. You even sent me a picture.
By the truckload.
Yeah, we've been buying a lot of truckloads. I've seen some invoices come through, so that may chip away at some more of this.
but there's some more, there's another chunk of money beside the airport money.
Real estate money.
Yeah.
When we purchased that property from Joe, or Joe purchased the property from us, could
So when we
also,
originally looked at this, we looked at what airport money we had plus the real estate money to pay for it. Now, and look at what the airport money has come to, I mean, the fuel money, excuse me. Plus the real estate money, we would probably have enough money to pay for
The nicer road.
the nicer road.
Well, not only that, but if my project goes through, I'm gonna be purchasing, hopefully, another piece of property from you, which that money could turn right around and be parlayed into the road if need be. The
Well,
perfect solution is for the Department of Aviation to participate like they said they would. The road is in the airport layout plan, which my understanding means it's eligible for funding, and we don't understand why. There may be a perfectly good reason why it's not eligible, we just don't understand it, and we feel like, I feel like, it's really important that we understand everything before we commit to spending any money on the road, any significant amount of money. The third most important thing from my point of view is if or when our project goes forward, the elevations are gonna change. We're gonna come in and move dirt to do the foundation for the new project. If we've built a road, it needs to match the elevation, you know what I'm saying? Everything needs to meet in the middle, so we couldn't really build a road right now until we figure out the elevation of what the road is leading to. And so I think in 60 to 90 days, everything's gonna kinda come together. when we have all-
except Joe, now, the elevation is gonna have to be what the existing road is, or you're gonna have to go with a whole new road. Because you can't use the existing base.
Well, you can, up to the gate is the existing base, but you have an easement after that that you're responsible for that ties into the existing property. And so for all that, and that's a small portion of it, but for all that to come together, when you mobilize all the equipment, you have everybody out there you want, we just
Right.
paved that parking lot and we stopped halfway up the hill, told the contractor, I said, just stop 10 yards short until we figure out how all this is gonna come together. I think in the long run, what's gonna happen is we're gonna find some money. My project's gonna go through, and you're gonna have a really nice entrance to an
And we're
industrial
go- and
park that makes it look like an industrial park.
And we're gonna build it, and we're gonna end up building the better road, I think.
I think so, and I think that will help you market the rest of your property, because when people go up, it'll look like an industrial park, and it won't look like, where's that, it doesn't look like
That
a
gravel
old
road
hunting
goes.
trail that you're gonna drive down.
That 2-year minimum scares the devil out of me, I can tell you.
When is the airport, when's the, big committee meeting with the airport guys? With Richmond?
with Richmond guys, I don't know, call.
You had, that Captain Smolcic asked me to remind you about, was it the 21st?
I think it is that week. I don't know if the Department of Aviation guys are gonna be there. But what Captain Simmelchick is trying to do is trying to put together kind of a users group. People that have interest in the airport. I don't know what he's completely got up his sleeve, but I think he has the 24th maybe? 21st, to sit down and talk about airfield. Yeah, obviously, if you guys are interested, come on out there, but I really don't know the agenda.
The basic agenda, from my understanding is, and I'm speaking for him, is he wants a group of government representatives, users, National Guard representatives that can come together, because when you have the airport layout plan, it's gonna give you this Chinese menu that may have 20 projects on it that are eligible for funding. He wants the group to come together and as a group decide which projects we're gonna try to fund and try to have some cohesion between what the Guard's doing and what we're doing. And we have an airport committee and a transportation committee here. Whether one member from that committee comes or all of you come, it's not relevant to me. The garrison commander has expressed an interest in some decision makers from the government side being there. I will certainly be there as a user, unless if for some reason they don't want me there, I won't be there. But we might pull in a general aviation pilot, me as a business owner there, a government rep, somebody from the Guard, and we might meet quarterly or semi-annually to say, hey, it's time to start talking about and the guard would say, we have a project over here we're working on, and we decide whether we could apply state money and vice versa, what projects, so like perimeter fencing, we have a security problem. If an airplane breaks down out there, military airplanes have what they call ComSec gear in them, they can't leave them unattended. So right now, if a helicopter breaks down out there, he's got guys sleeping in it, you know, over the weekend, because there's no security out there. The security is about 80%. That's a joint project that we may be able to work on and just start having these conversations. Those are just my thoughts, not his. That's what I think he wants. So he was looking to have that. Philip mentioned, well, let's get our Department of Aviation rep there, our board member, so he can help drive projects for us and pull him in.
Instead of us battling with the guard guys, in that first couple of years I was here, it was a battle, Jack. It was tough. The answer was no, we're not doing it. Finding somebody who can crack that veneer and get in there, I think is important. Whoever that person is.
Captain Spolsik is a young captain. He's pro-joint use. He believes in a civilian presence out there. He's supportive of everything we do out there. It's really a breath of fresh air. The garrison commander supports him, so I think we have an opportunity here to kiss and make up, and let's start moving forward. And I would encourage some participation from this committee level. It's on the 21st with the time to be determined.
Can I just start for the captain's name?
SIM ULCIK, I believe. Simulchik.
I can look on his emails.
We're going to get the Department of Aviation down to talk about funding this road. And that's our main agenda item. If you guys would like to participate, I don't know what the date is for that. This thing with Captain Simulchik, it's a
Put me down for that.
absolutely.
21st?
Seems to be the 21st. We'll call a meeting if all three of you would like to come. Be happy to.
I'm off that day.
What day?
SIMULCIK.
21st.
And the gold ribbon
What
goes
day?
to the town manager.
Tuesday.
You ready for the next
He
item?
was a teacher's
It's a
pet.
Wednesday.
I got that.
They never saw it. For 2 years I was AWOL. There was
Well, Joe, I hope you're satisfied with what we're
Oh,
gonna
I am.
recommend.
I mean, I think there's wisdom in the group, and we talk and turn rocks over, and I'm comfortable.
Well, I'm glad that we turned the rocks over, is what I'm glad. I want everybody to see what was there and
Next
at
item.
least thought about it, you know.
Yes, sir.
While Joe is still here, I would like to send these out, and maybe Joe could comment as well. I think there's, if you remember when Joe kind of was able to take the administrative side of things at the airport, which has worked perfectly, there's somebody out there, there's a human being, a pilot can go to the bathroom in a reasonable location, there's toilet paper, there's all good things. It has worked beautifully. Joe has an idea that we need to increase our presence in the aviation community on websites and that sort of thing. What are our amenities and how do you get cars? And that's what an FBO, fixed base operator, does. Where are the restaurants? Where do you go? How do you do things at our airport? He's recommended that there are some websites. I don't see them being very expensive. $400 is the most expensive one for a year subscription. And can you add to that why it's a good idea? I don't think it's $54 annually. How they rent it.
In the aircraft business has kind of changed over the years. Everything's internet based now. In fact, most of the stuff is available in the cockpit to a pilot. So if I'm flying along, even in my little bitty airplane, and I want to know where there's cheap fuel, I can go to a screen and it'll tell me all the airports and what their fuel prices are. It'll tell me if there's a crew car a courtesy car that I can borrow to go to lunch. It'll tell me if there's Wi-Fi. It tells me all the amenities are on the ground, and it's literally available either on an iPad, a phone, or on the panel of the airplane. What we've done, we formed Partner Aviation, which is a fixed base operator. We have purchased a car that we loan to pilots, so we've taken care of the car, the insurance on the car, and the fuel in the car. We've done all the advertising for the FBO, and we have a website for Partner Aviation. What we don't have is a presence on those websites that automatically show up on those pilot applications in the aircraft and on these user pilot websites. And there's only 3 or 4 big ones: 4Flight, Garmin Pilot, I don't know, a couple others. And so what I proposed to the town manager was, you know, we're kind of carrying our burden, but we don't sell the fuel. And the profit comes from the fuel, and we felt like it was fair and reasonable to say, hey, can you guys pony up this $500 a year so that we can have this internet presence and this cockpit presence so that pilots will be able to find us when they're flying around and they say, hey, that's a good place to stop, because they're like truck drivers. Once you get them to stop once or twice, they get a quick turnaround, clean bathroom, good Wi-Fi, a car to run to town and get a sandwich. They will come back because they can get in and out of Blackstone much quicker than they can get in and out of Chesterfield or Richmond, and we have no ramp fees. So it's a really good thing. We want to be in the yellow pages for pilots, and it's a reasonable price. It's
How much money do we make fuel on private?
I would say your percentage of fuel sales for general aviation pilots like myself buying 100 low lead is 2% of what you sell. It's very, very small. But
Market's a little more.
How much do we sell?
I would say it's less than 5% of our total volume.
I want a dollar figure.
If you look in your packet, you'll see where our military contract is estimated about 600,000 gallons for the.
But that's not for the traffic he's talking
but
about.
if you use the 5% number and there's 117 grand in there, there's about 5,000 of that credited to general aviation. If you use the 5% number. So,
After expenses.
here, there's third and fourth order of effects, though. So pilots like me, it's the wife goes, what are we going to do Saturday? I don't know. Well, let's fly to Chesterfield and have lunch. Get out, get a car, go over to the mall. She shops a little bit. We have lunch. We get in the airplane. We come home. That's what they do on the weekends. It's not any different than a motorcycle club where they all ride around and do their thing. There's that whole group of pilots, which we're not getting right now because they don't know. Previously, they didn't know they had a car when they get here. We just give them a car, because we don't figure they're going to steal a car, a $2,000 car, and leave a $50,000 airplane. The second group of pilots that you could get are these commercial pilots that are hopping back and forth. And those are the ones where we really have the potential to make more money, because they buy lots of gas like a military jet, but we're not capturing that right now because they don't know we're here. That's really the market. And then you pick up the meals tax and the other things where people come here to shop. During Christmas time, when Bobby's open, you'll have guys come in. We hope to grow it into having a fly-in once or twice a year where we get 400 or 500 pilots here. They all fly in and they all come to town. And it's just one more event amongst a bunch of
What we
events.
can do, and Joe being out there, I think this is something I wanted to let you guys know about. I'd like to try it for a year, and it's less than $10,000, and
It's what, $500 a year?
yeah, so we would like to give this thing a shot, let you guys know what we're doing, and see if we can quantify it.
Well, 500 get you off the ground?
Stephanie sent, oh, I'm sorry. You put my eyeballs on here. It's Ford 590, $654.
How much?
$654 would do the bulk of it.
I think it's well worth it, and I just wanted to give you guys a heads up what we're gonna try to do, unless you have opinions otherwise.
Can we take this money out of fuel money?
No, absolutely. This is.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't have a local tax.
I would at this point entertain a motion from someone to assist Joe in this.
I make a motion that we do it.
Second.
And I'm with Philip, we'll reevaluate in a year. If we don't see a return on it, we'll stop doing it. You never know.
This is a year at a time.
Sir.
You have to renew
This
it.
is for a whole year.
Yes, sir.
It's like marriage license, you know, it's got to be renewed every year.
Well,
No, once.
All right. Next
All
time,
right,
Philip,
the
for
motion
me.
carried, by the way.
Airport layout plan, just to let you know, we have responded in full to the state, and we have an expectation that will be approved. That was one of the things that was holding me back from going and asking for money, because the state wanted this airport layout plan to be completed and approved before we ask for road money. Now that we've got that done, I feel confident that we can make that request to the Department of Aviation. If you would like the full report, it's about 40 pages, and I don't mind making a copy for you, but if you'd like to read the full report, if we can email it to you and it goes through without a Dropbox, we may have to do that to handle such a big email, but whatever. More than happy to get you a copy.
Why don't you make a copy and put it on your table here?
Not a problem. We'll get them for you. Last item for discussion. If you guys remember, our fuel concessions went up to bid at Pickett, and we bid, and we probably the only person who submitted a bid, I suspect. But we did submit with a little bit higher per gallon rate for the military, and it was approved with an estimated quantity of 600,000 gallons for a 4-year period. It's about 125,000 gallons a year. Yeah, maybe a little bit more, about 150,000 gallons.
What profit margin?
Pardon?
What profit margin?
We're making 69 cents a gallon. That is our profit.
What were we making before?
65. Went up 4 cents. But they told us to stay out of the 70s. I guess it's a psychological barrier. You know, when you buy a car, $29,995 or whatever. They said, try to stay under 70 cents, or 70 cents. So we're at 69 cents a gallon. Now, I warn you, and it's hard to tell you that's exactly profit. That's what we mark up above the Platts price. But we have to take out our overtime costs and our truck rental costs. However, that does not include the $75 after-hours call-out fee that we're entitled to every time we go out.
Even for the military?
Hmm?
Even for the military?
For the military, we get $75 for every time the guys come out after hours. So we have the guys that are on call. Usually it's electric guys. There's a couple of them because they're on call anyhow for the electric department, and they get called out. $75, and that's not factored in here. That's above the 69 cents. Okay. So truly profit, I have to figure out, because it doesn't cost us $75 for the guys to come out. It's something less than that. So we're keeping some of that. I really figured out, but I think if you took 69 cents to the bank, I think that's our margin above our cost for fuel, the Platts price.
Last week, the military, they do fueler training. So they'll pull up a fuel truck next to the town fuel truck and empty the entire town fuel truck into their truck so they can go pump it for training. And I sent you that picture, they have them lined up filling one after another, or they'll come have David and his crew fill up these fuel bags, these remote fueling points, and once they put it in the bag, they can't take it out, they have to use it all. And they're putting it in 5,000 gallons at a time. So I don't want to get in David's lane, he does a great job, but I want to support that if it ever comes before this committee, some kind of way for him to be able to run credit cards in the truck.
I think we can run personal credit cards. I think we're having a problem with the credit card company being able to do one on an app, was it a little, the cube or whatever that you put on top. That was a problem with the government card. Now with a Visa or MasterCard, no problem. But we're having problems doing the military card remote.
Because what's happening now is Captain Smolcer, he's an aviator. So when a helicopter unit comes in, they're his buddies, and he says, hey, can you buy a couple of bags of gas while you're here? A tank of gas, they call it a bag of gas. The easier we can make it for them where it doesn't hold them up. And they're not having to go to the office, his office, go back.
It's